If you were to accept a piggyback ride from the fastest man on earth, would you be considered a racist? According to some, the answer would be yes. Good Marc TV morning. When I do these episodes, they're really focused on the business owner to help them kind of build their marketing and build their business and reach out and communicate better. But every now and then I come across something that I think spans way beyond that. And in this episode, I want to talk about some things that are just, I think, kind of going a little over the top. And you may disagree with me. That's okay. If you do, you can comment down below. But I want to share these with you because I think it's important to look at these and understand how not only they impact us as a society, but how we start viewing these things and how they impact on our own views of society and ourselves. So I want to start with this photo here of Ellen DeGeneres, who photoshopped herself on the back of Usain Bolt, the current world record holder, unquestionably the fastest man on the planet. And she writes, "This is how I'm running errands from now on," with reference to the Rio Olympics. And anybody who I think has half a brain would understand the joke that he could help her get around town really quick because he's the fastest man alive and she'd be able to get her errands done quicker. Kind of makes sense, but a significant portion of the Twitter audience or the Twitter universe decided that this was in fact a racist and offensive picture and comment, and as such have let loose their anger and rage towards Ellen DeGeneres. Some of the stuff aimed at her is just outrageous. Here is a tweet someone responded. It says, "They were complimented on their strength, so I guess they weren't racist," implying that Ellen DeGeneres is really no different than these folks who are basically riding the backs of black slaves. Or how about this one? "You thought it'd be funny to post a pic of yourself riding on the back of a black man? Nope. Delete this racist garbage." I don't know if it's racist, and that's something we're going to talk a little more about shortly. And then finally, so riding on his back like a mule, a horse, as some form of property is fun to you. So at no point does she say he's a horse, a mule, or property. It's just a woman getting a piggyback. I mean, to me, this is a bit of a stretch. I have to wonder if she didn't direct this comment at Usain Bolt, but instead to someone like Lewis Hamilton, the current Formula One champion, who I guess could be called the real fastest man on the planet. If she sort of took a picture of herself and put it on the back of his car, would people make racist comparisons to that of, let's say, driving Miss Daisy? I think the problem here is that racism is becoming this blanket term that's used to cover everything that doesn't fit in with the way a select group or a certain portion of the population view the world or how they think the world should be. Now, the fact is, racism is a very clear word in terms of definition. It means that you are discriminating against a specific group based on their color, creed, religion, origin, whatever term you want to use. You're basically saying that we as a group are better than them as a group, and therefore they are not deserving of the same rights. It's that simple. Where I think things get a little weird is when certain portions of the population see or hear things that don't quite fit in with the norm or what they believe the norm should be, and automatically it gets classified as racism. Let me give you an example. I'm going to show you two pictures here. Both pictures are of a white man beating a black man. But are they both racist? You let me know. So the first picture here, I believe, was probably taken in the late 1960s, somewhere in Alabama or somewhere in the South. And I don't know what the guy in the middle did to piss off all those white people, but I'm willing to bet they are grossly overreacting, and there's probably a lot of hate, rage, and anger in them to start with. Now, I think we could all agree that this is probably a pretty racist photo. Now, here's the second picture of a white man giving it to a black man. Now, would you say this is racist? Well, technically, it is a white man beating up on a black man, but I think you'd be hard-pressed to call it racist. After all, these are two equal opponents in a boxing ring. Which brings me to my point that sometimes you can see things that would appear to be racist, but in fact not. You have to look at the situation. And yet, every situation is different. And not only that, I think you need to understand where it's coming from. See, I think part of the problem is that racism can come from any number of different sources and take on different appearances, but the problem is so many people are focused on the little nuances of it instead of seeing the bigger picture. Let me give you an example. To me, this is clear racism, but so is this, and believe it or not, I also think this is racism. Now, what I find interesting is the fact that a significant portion of the population would find that last one, let me show it to you here again, they would find this not to be racist. They wouldn't call it racism or Islamophobia. No, they would call it protection, as in protecting their rights and their safety and their ability to live their lives safely. Now, what's interesting is that was the same motivating factor that this group had when they didn't want quote-unquote race mixing. Now, I'm not going to say that racism isn't out there. I mean, we all know it is. But what's important is to understand where it's coming from. And I touched on earlier about you have to know who it's coming from. And sometimes we see things that aren't always there, or we see racism when I think it's not always there. I want to show you this really quick. This is a poster that's been put out by the American Red Cross, and this has caused a lot of controversy. Now, if you take a look at it, it seems pretty good, pretty innocent. You've got a lot of people, some white, some not white, all swimming together in a pool. And it's kind of letting you know what good things and what not so good things to do around a swimming pool. Where the controversy comes up is the fact that 4 out of the 5 not cool people are not white. So is this poster racist, thus making the American Red Cross racist? I don't think so. And it's interesting, if you look really closely at the poster, you'll see that it's pretty mixed in terms of cool and not cool. And by the way, the reason I'm saying non-white instead of black is because this is a cartoon drawing. The truth is, I don't know if these kids are supposed to be black or Asian or Southeast Asian or from the Caribbean, I don't know what. So I'm just calling them non-white. So don't think that is racist. Which brings us to American gold medalist Gabby Douglas, who recently won gold with her gymnastics team at the Rio Olympics. And this poor girl who's just 20 years old has been getting hit hard on social media. Now, is it racist? I'm not really sure. When they accuse you of trying to lighten your skin or change your hair, could that be racist? I don't know. It sounds a little close to me though. Regardless, the internet has really been coming down hard on this poor girl. It all started with the playing of the American national anthem when they got their gold medal. You'll see all her teammates have their hands over their heart except for Gabby. Now, why she doesn't, I don't know. And the fact is, it doesn't really matter. She worked as hard as they did to bring home that gold. But the Twitter universe is ganging up on her for being unpatriotic. And of course now, as is always the case, they're getting personal, questioning her skin, her hair, her outfit, her mood, everything. This poor girl has done nothing wrong. I think the real problem here goes far beyond the label of racism. You see, I believe that we live in a society, and through technology and social media, we now have the ability to share our thoughts and ideas with the world instantly from anywhere, whether it be behind our desk or standing in line at the bank. We can say whatever is on our mind. We don't even have to wait to get back to the office. We don't have to wait to pull out that pen and paper and write something down. We can do it anywhere at any time in 140 characters or less. Or we can, in seconds, post that photo on Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram, whatever we want. And we can say anything we want, knowing that there'll be no real negative repercussions. But what we often forget as a society is that all this rage is always directed at someone specific, whether it be a company or an individual, and most of the time, virtually all of the time, the actions of that individual do not warrant the response that they get. Whether it be Gabby Douglas or Ellen DeGeneres, or just someone like you or me who maybe got photographed being in a place we shouldn't have been, or doing something we should not have been doing, or perhaps we posted a comment that other people may not agree with. Does it warrant that kind of anger and hatred and negative reaction? I don't think so. So with the freedom of social media, what we need to do is try to prevent it from turning us into a very anti-social society. And I think that's what's important. Whether you want to label it racism or just a lot of pent-up anger, well, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, the result is the same. So if you have any thoughts on this, post them down below. I'd love to hear them. As always, I'm Marc Gordon, and you've been watching Marc TV.